What's happening, everybody? On today's show, Nick Saban and Alabama embarrassed the Georgia Bulldogs to win yet another SEC championship game. We'll discuss what went wrong for Kirby's bunch. Also, the college football playoffs are set. Two of the four teams coming from the SEC, those two teams. In fact, odds of yet another SEC title seem pretty good. And Billy Napier officially introduced as the new head coach at Florida. Lane Kiffin gets an extension at Ole Miss. We'll discuss it all. Locked On SEC starts right now.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what's happening, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. It's great to have you guys along. Today's episode is brought to you by Sonos. Sonos is the official sponsor of ESPN College Football. Go to Sonos.com to learn more. I am Chris Gordy. Thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Remember, Locked On SEC is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube and at LockedOnSEC.com. We got to start with the SEC championship game as Alabama was victorious, beating Georgia 41-24. I will be honest with you. I was shocked at how this one played out, and I wasn't alone in that thinking. We had Chris Marler on our podcast last week, diehard Alabama fan who hosts the College Football Uncensored podcast. Even he thought this was Georgia's year, and they were just the better team than Alabama in this game. In fact, just about every expert out there, our show included, were picking Georgia to win. In some cases, predicting Georgia to win big. Well, Nick Saban, being the contrarian that he is, said thank you to all those prognosticators out there.
You guys gave us a lot of really positive rat poison. The rat poison that you usually give us is usually fatal. But the rat poison that you put out there this week was yummy.
Yeah, that was Nick Saban giving his normal rat poison line, but how about flipping it around, saying that rat poison was yummy. Thank you guys for counting us, writing all those articles about how we were going to get blown out, how we had no chance. Refocused Alabama. Let's start with how impressed I was with Alabama, their line play on Saturday. We can only base opinions off of, what we see out there, and what we've seen throughout the season against Florida, LSU, Auburn. Alabama had subpar line play, particularly bad O-line play in the LSU and Auburn game. They only rushed for 6 yards against LSU, remember? And, of course, Bryce Young was sacked 7 times a week ago at Auburn. They were getting, couldn't score a point. But what we saw versus this dominant Georgia front was Alabama's O-line really control the line of scrimmage. And even downs where they blitzed, Bryce Young was poised enough to make the throws, find his open receivers. And with no Darian Dalcourt at center, they got it done with Seth McLaughlin and company in there. Very impressed with Alabama's O-line against the Georgia front. The biggest stat of this game, 0 sacks against the line led by Jordan Davis, Devontae Wyatt, all the other guys. They had 4 tackles behind the line for a total loss of just 6 yards. Bryce Young added to his Heisman Trophy credentials with a huge game. He threw for 421, 3 touchdowns, hitting his receivers. Jamison Williams, 7 catches for 184 yards and 2 touchdowns. He probably, transfer of the year when you talk about guys who went into transfer portal. I don't know where Alabama would be without what Jamison Williams brought them this season. But basically the game swung like this. After punting on their first 2 possessions, Georgia jumped out to a 10-0 lead. Alabama then scored on their next 5 possessions, including getting a 2-for-1, where they scored a touchdown right before halftime. They got the ball out of the half and responded with a touchdown to take a 31-17 lead. Now, the bad news for Alabama coming out of this game, star wide receiver John Mechie suffered an ACL injury. Nick Saban confirmed on Sunday that Mechie will miss the remainder of the postseason. Injury happened in the second quarter when Mechie was running a route, pulled up lame. He was primarily the possession receiver for the team this year, with Jamison Williams kind of emerging as that deep threat. So we'll see how that affects Alabama moving on. As for Georgia, look, the bottom line is they could not protect And Stetson Bennett, all the memorable moments he had this year, kind of went out the window. Where everybody's saying that's the Stetson Bennett we remembered from last year. That's the Stetson Bennett that should not be starting, and it should be JT Daniels in there playing quarterback. He was able to make some things work. He hit Brock Bowers several times. They got to the end zone, scored some touchdowns. But here's a positive for Georgia. Even when things got out of hand, they didn't quit. They kept driving into Alabama territory, trying to cut into the deficit. One drive ended on an interception in Bama's red zone. Another drive ended in a turnover on downs in Bama's red zone. And even after they threw a pick six, that was sure to end it, Georgia responded by scoring a touchdown to make it a two-score game again. They forced a Bama punt. They just couldn't do anything with it. No doubt, Georgia got punched in the mouth, and they're going to need to respond quickly here in the playoff versus a really good Michigan team. Now, a few questions for Georgia moving forward. Is Stetson Bennett good enough to win the big game for Georgia? I don't think you make a change at this point. He's got to be the guy, but can he make the big plays in a playoff game? And also, can the defense get back to playing how they did earlier in the season? Again, I thought Bama had did a heck of a job game planning in this one, taking away Georgia's strengths. But man, they've got to come back and respond, and I think they will. I think they're disappointed with how they played in this one, and lucky enough to be undefeated coming into Saturday. They still punched their ticket to the playoff, but now is the time to respond. For Alabama, questions moving forward. One, how much does not having John Mechie change their offense? That's a big part for them. And can your defense get some more stops and play with a little bit more intensity? Look, you gave up over 400 yards of offense to Georgia. You made the big plays when you needed to, but I still think Alabama can turn it up another notch. Will Anderson is so good on this team. We know how good he's been all year. In fact, Alabama held their awards banquet last night. Will Anderson was awarded the most inspiring player. Goes to the player who affects the whole team by his attitude as well as his performance. Well, no doubt Will Anderson is the guy. And honestly, he should get some Heisman votes over Bryce Young. Bryce Young's probably going to win it right now. He's the favorite in the clubhouse. But those are just my questions for both these teams moving forward. I think there's a very good opportunity. We see a rematch in the national championship game between Alabama and Georgia. But both teams have got to take care of business. And coming up next, we will touch on the playoffs that are set, as well as all the rest of the SEC bowl games as well. Congrats to Alabama. SEC champions yet again. And you just have to wonder if Kirby, man, ever going to get that monkey off your back that is Nick Saban. Jimbo finally broke through, first assistant to beat Nick Saban head-to-head. Kirby's still waiting for his opportunity. When we return, we'll touch on the college football playoff rankings as well as the other SEC bowl games. Need to remind you guys about our friends over at PrizePicks. Look, if you're a college football fanatic and you haven't downloaded the PrizePicks app yet, I don't know what you're doing with your life. PrizePicks is a leader in college sports daily fantasy. Now, for more college props than anyone in the world, look at bowl season happening right now. You definitely want to make sure you get the PrizePicks app and get in there. They've got tons of stuff every night, from NFL to NBA, NHL, boxing. They've got you covered with everything. And college football in the bowl season, it's going to be a lot of fun to get in there and play on PrizePicks. Go download their app right now. You can find it on the App Store and Google Play. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. PrizePicks is safe. They offer fast withdrawals. Don't hesitate. Go check them out, prizepicks.com, and make sure you use our promo code LOCKEDON. It's going to get you a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 at prizepicks.com. You can go to the website or download the app today. PrizePicks. Use the Locked On promo code. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. Going along here, Locked On SEC. Kind of recapping the SEC championship game and the fallout. We've kind of almost turned the page already on what happened on Saturday. Again, congrats to Alabama. But now we transition. We want to take a quick look at the playoffs that were set yesterday by the College Football Playoff Committee. So let's do that. Alabama jumps up to number one with the win over Georgia. Michigan, they stay put right there at number two, winning the Big Ten title game convincingly over Iowa. Georgia slides from number one back to number three. Cincinnati stayed right in there at number 4. Unfortunate for a team like Notre Dame, who put together a heck of a season. You wonder how much Brian Kelly leaving Notre Dame for the LSU job played a factor in there, knowing that it was going to be a team without their head coach. So the group of 5 gets an opportunity in Cincinnati. I just wonder for Cincinnati, the pressure is on with them being a group of 5 champion. Cincy's got to go out there and they've got to play well against Alabama and show that they deserve to be in, because if it's a blowout, well, that's really going to hurt the group of 5's chances for the playoff moving forward. Keep in mind, Cincinnati just played Georgia back in January, lost by a field goal in the Peach Bowl. I would not expect the Bearcats to be intimidated by Nick Saban and the Tide, but Nick Saban and Alabama do so well when they have several weeks to prepare for somebody. It's going to be very interesting to see what type of fight they put up. But that is coming your way as we turn the page and look ahead at all the other bowl games happening in the SEC. Of course, the playoff bowl games, Alabama versus Cincinnati, the early game on New Year's Eve in the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, Texas. And then that night, the night game will be Georgia versus Michigan, New Year's Eve night in the Orange Bowl down in Miami. Your other college football bowl game, the All-State Sugar Bowl, will be Ole Miss versus Baylor. Baylor victorious in their Big 12 title game on Saturday, so congrats to them. They get to take on Lane Kiffin and the Ole Miss Rebels. That is going to be a fun one down in New Orleans on New Year's Day. Your other bowl games that are set, SEC-affiliated bowl, the Citrus Bowl in Orlando. It's going to be Mark Stoops and his Kentucky Wildcats taking on Iowa. That will be a noon Central kickoff, 1 p.m. Eastern on New Year's Day on ABC. Some of the other bowl games, the Liberty Bowl in Memphis, they get Mississippi State. The Duke's Mayo Bowl in Charlotte, they get South Carolina. Of course, we found out already that opponent will be North Carolina. The Music City Bowl in Nashville will be Tennessee versus Purdue. The Gator Bowl will be Texas A&M. The Outback Bowl, Arkansas versus Penn State. Texas Bowl in Houston will be LSU versus Kansas State. Only thing that stinks for LSU fans in that game, that same night, LSU will be hosting Kentucky in basketball. So for folks in Baton Rouge, they may want to just stay put there in Baton Rouge and go check out Will Wade's squad against John Calipari's team, as opposed to going to watch LSU in, let's call it a meaningless bowl game against Kansas State before their last game before Brian Kelly takes over. And then your other games, Missouri is headed to the Armed Forces Bowl. They will take on Army. The Gasparilla Bowl should be a really fun one, Florida versus UCF. And then the Birmingham Bowl, Auburn is heading to Birmingham, so a short drive for them in that one. So all your other bowl games set in the SEC. Going to be a lot of fun to see some of those matchups. Just on the surface, kind of looking at, I guess, what would be kind of my early fun matchups. Like I mentioned, Army against Mizzou. Be interesting to see that one. But UCF against Florida, Texas Tech taking on Mississippi State. I really like the Baylor-Ole Miss matchup. Penn State has an opportunity. If they're able to knock off Arkansas, that would be two SEC wins for Penn State in the same season. Of course, they beat Auburn earlier this year. But, of course, an exclamation point on the year. Sam Pittman and crew can get their 9th win in the bowl game with a win over Penn State in the Outback Bowl. The Kentucky-Iowa game screams take the under as well, right? Two pretty solid defenses going head-to-head. And then the Gator Bowl, Wake Forest, who was a high-flying offense all year, going up against A&M and Mike Elko's defense. Just wonder how many opt-outs A&M is going to have. We already know DeMarvin Leal is declared, and he's heading to the draft. So all in all, going to be some good bowl games out there in the SEC in the next couple of weeks, and we will preview them all as we roll on closer to the start of bowl season right here on Locked On to SEC. When we return, we got some news as Billy Napier was introduced yesterday as the new head coach in Florida as the Florida Gators head coach, and Lane Kiffin getting a new contract. We'll touch on that when we return. Always good to remind you guys that BetOnline has got you covered for all bowl season. More props, odds, and lines than ever before as we head into bowl season. Of course, the college football playoff. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all sports action. The the rest of this year. You can go check out their new updated website, either on your desktop or mobile device. You can sign up today, receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Use our promo code Locked On. That's LOCKEDON. That will get you your bonus from basketball to football to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline is where the game starts. Of course, we are in the holiday season, and that means you need to grab the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, but is even better than a candy bar. Built Bar filled with so much holiday goodness, rich with a decadent flavor, covered in chocolate, but amazingly low in calories, sugar, net carbs, and fat, and it's high in protein. You get the best of both worlds. It's delicious and healthy. So many flavors you'll have a hard time choosing. Well, you have raspberry or mint brownie, cherry, or double chocolate, cookies and cream, peanut butter brownie. There's something for everybody. Go check them out right now at built.com. You want to cozy up with something warm for the holiday season, you can even dip your Built Bar into a piping hot cup of cocoa. Let it melt and give your beverage a little bit of that Built Bar flavor. Get some protein going in there. Be sure you got a couple of napkins on hand. Go to built.com. Use our promo code LOCK15. That's LOCKED15. You get 15% off your first order. Again, use the promo code LOCK15. Get 15% off over at built.com. Get you a Built Bar for the holiday. Running along here, Locked On SEC. And we're all set for bowl season, all the bowl games coming in the next couple of weeks. Of course, we had one new head coach introduced last week, Brian Kelly at LSU. Yesterday, Billy Napier was introduced as head coach as the new head coach at Florida after winning the Sun Belt title game on Saturday, his last game at Louisiana. The coach and his family arrived at Gainesville Airport around noon. They were greeted by a throng of Florida officials. Napier finished 40-12 in 4 years, 33-5 during these past 3 seasons with the Cajuns. And he enters after agreeing to a brand new contract with the Gators. Here was a little bit of what Billy Napier said yesterday to the Gator fans.
You know, it's important for everyone to know that we've got a goal here to play a brand of football that creates a great sense of pride. Pride not only for this institution, but for the people in this great community of Gainesville, Florida, and Florida Gators all across the country. To our fans, our alumni, our investors, any and everybody that loves this university and this football program, this will be a team effort. That's what it's going to take. It's going to take all of us. No matter what our role is and can be, it must be positive, right? We've got to work together to make an impact as we kind of start this journey together. We're going to build the best football team in the SEC Conference. We're going to build the best football program in the SEC Conference. We must have a championship approach in everything that we do to accomplish this goal. Every choice, every decision, every habit that we build along the way, we're going to begin with the ending in mind, and that is to be a champion. I've seen this done. I've experienced it myself, and I can promise you that we'll all reap the benefits from this. It's important that everybody take ownership in their role, you know, whatever that may be, right? You may be the equipment manager. You might be a cheerleader. You may run a local business. You might be just a Florida Gator fan in the barbershop, right? But you know, I think it's critical that we rally together, we support each other as we work to establish a really high standard of excellence for this program, both on and off the field. You know, our mission here is to make life-changing impact on the players, for them to experience success in life as a result.
What there, Billy Napier, he agreed to a 7-year, $51.8 million contract. That makes him among the highest paid coaches in the SEC. And he has yet to coach a game here. A source familiar with the deal Told the Gainesville Sun that's what the deal is worth. He will make $7.1 million his first season. He'll get a $100,000 raise annually each of the remaining 6 years. Now, of course, as well, we'll get even more on top of that, an extension and all that sort of thing. Some rumors flying out there: Jabbar, Jaluk, and Patrick Toney reportedly going to join Napier at Florida. Those are two of his assistants at Louisiana. That's a report coming from Football Scoop. So, look, the Billy Napier era is underway. Capped it off at Louisiana. Now he comes to the SEC, and the question is, can he win as a head coach in the SEC? Got to get started on recruiting, and he's got to get started very quickly. We're 2 weeks from the National Signing Day. Ryan Kelly at LSU and Billy Napier at Florida, accelerating the timeline here on how quickly they need to get to work. Now over in Oxford, Lane Kiffin. Ole Miss announced Lane Kiffin agreed to a new contract to remain with the Rebels on Saturday night. Kind of funny that the timing happened right when Alabama won the SEC championship. Lane Kiffin agrees to a new deal with Ole Miss. And there were rumors that this extension had been on Lane Kiffin's desk for about a month. He was kind of putting his name out there, floating it out there, for the LSU job, the Oklahoma job, the Notre Dame job. Lane wanted a promotion this offseason. He didn't get it, so he signed his extension with Ole Miss. Look, not to say that he can't win at Ole Miss and doesn't want to stay at Ole Miss. He just was eyeing greener pastures out there. His new deal will average in the $7.5 million range annually, according to ESPN. Asked about the contract, Kiffin said these things have been in the works a while, just so happened to be finalized yesterday. It takes time. Considerations about players, facilities, assistants, all had to be ironed out. He says the goal is to do this type of winning for a long period of time. Now, as for Matt Corral, we know Ole Miss is going to be playing in the Sugar Bowl. Lane said, when I saw him with the band celebrating when we won the Egg Bowl, I almost got emotional. I remembered I have one more game with him. It is really neat to be a part of it. He's a leader, and I'm proud to be his coach. So it sounds like Matt Corral's going to play in the Sugar Bowl. Just bring that up because a lot of the draft projections out there have him as one of the top quarterbacks to go projected as a first-round pick. Sometimes you get opt-outs from guys if they're not going to the playoff. But the Sugar Bowl is a prestigious bowl game for Ole Miss to go to. And so fully expect Matt Corral to play in that game. Lastly, Lane Kiffin asked about retaining his staff yesterday on a conference call. He said, I don't take things personally. It's part of the business. When you're playing really well, your assistant coaches, people want to come get them. If you're losing, why would people want your coaches? There's a good chance we may lose one this year. Now, what he's hinting at is Jeff Lebby, as offensive coordinator, very likely to head to Oklahoma with Brent Venables, the Clemson DC, who is expected to take the Oklahoma job. Again, this is all at the time of this recording. By the time you guys are listening to this, Jeff Lebby may have been already introduced as the offense coordinator at Oklahoma, but just giving you the latest on what we're hearing at the time of this show. And there you have it. That is the latest around the SEC. Man, a busy weekend. There's so much to discuss. Again, congrats to Alabama. And look, don't hang your heads, Georgia. You're going to the playoff. You still got everything you want in front of you. You didn't get the SEC crown like you wanted, but now you got a chance to do one better. Do what Alabama did a couple years ago. Forget the SEC trophy. We want the national championship trophy. Be very interesting if Georgia can do it. So best of luck to Alabama and Georgia in the playoff, and best of luck to all the other SEC teams heading to bowl games. 13 of the 14 teams. It's okay, Vanderbilt. Baseball season will be here before you know it. I'm Chris Gordy. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow right here on Locked On SEC. Plenty to discuss. We'll have some great guests throughout the week as well. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day.